Welcome back to another video. Today we are in the Halloween Cup and we want to be tweaking a team that we've been featuring, the Palossand with the Toxapex, but this time with the Greninja in the back. So still double water, but a little bit more coverage towards ghost types. And we're going to be met with the Toxapex mirror here. So this is good news, as our opponent thinks that their best counter to our own Toxapex is their own Toxapex. We have the energy advantage because we're the ones switched in first, but also we know that they probably don't have any confusion users or maybe electric types. So we'll see what happens in the back here. So we're trying to get to this sludge wave here to force a decision by them. Are they going to shield or are they going to let it go? So we do get a shield from our opponent, and we force our opponent to use some energy right here. Most likely it's Brian. Barely doesn't take it out, but allows them to farm just a little bit more. And here we have a decision maker. We're going to go in with the Palossand or we're going to go in with the Greninja. We decided to go with the Greninja. We're going to shield this right here. Ends up being the Brine, unfortunately, not the right shield, but we are able to farm down, which is great, because we think that Greninja here will be able to do well, considering they don't have a counter. They didn't have a counter to the Toxapex. So here we switch back into the Palossand because we want to either try to get this debuffed or try to get this low enough so that our Greninja can farm it down somehow. So we do get the debuff, which is fantastic. We're going to throw on optimal timing right here. This next Scorching Sand will be able to do, I don't know, what is that, like 10 to 15% right there. So that's very valuable damage right there. They decide to undercharge a little bit, but it allows us to get to another Scorching Sand here, making this Umbreon gone, and they know that it's GG. So that was a team that we didn't expect, but as soon as they came in with their own Toxapex against our own Toxapex, then we had a good chance of winning that game right there. Next game, we are going to be met with the Greninja. So this is kind of a tough, but we're going to see if we can wiggle out of the situation. We tried to switch right there, but unfortunately it didn't allow us to go through it, and we actually just let it go because we think that the Toxapex here is going to be decent. So our opponent ends up throwing a Nice Slash here, which is interesting. Still haven't switched out, so another really good sign. The fact that they haven't switched out, they don't have a Toxapex answer apparently. So we're going to go for this Sludge Wave here. We're going to get a shield or big damage. We actually get the shield, which is, now we're even more convinced that this Toxapex, or at least water types, is going to be really good in the back. So we're actually going to use this Toxapex as an extra shield. It survives a Hydro Cannon right there. And we get some energy with our Greninja, and now we're going to hope that two shields with the Greninja can actually dominate this backline. Ends up being Carbink. This is going to put a lot of pressure on our opponent right here. One Hydro Cannon did roughly 40%. This next Hydro Cannon will KO, so they will have to make a decision to shield or not. Ends up not shielding, and it looks like they have the Golbat in the bag. So this Golbat, it would have done decent against this Greninja, especially even shields, but luckily we have two shields here. We are able to get to a Nice Slash, and then we're going to get this Hydro Cannon here. We're not going to switch out, so we don't get sniped, and we have a shield, so we're going to be able to get this Brine off, and that is GG's to our opponent right there. So well done by us recognizing that probably that Greninja was the key to victory in the back right there. Next game here. Also, if you didn't realize, obviously you can view it as an ABB team. So the Swallow in the front here, interesting. It doesn't switch out, so it's definitely gonna try to stay in and throw this Ice Beam. We know we can survive this Ice Beam, but let's see if they end up switching out. Our opponent ends up deciding to throw a move here. So this feels like a Sludge Bomb. It is a Sludge Bomb. And then we decide to throw this Scorching Sand here. It does take out the Swallow, so unfortunately for us, we are in the opposite situation of what we just encountered, where we only have a Toxapex for their Toxapex once our Palossand went down, and then they decided to switch out. It looks like the Palossand here was much better suited in the back, and they actually disguised it quite well in the front, so they got rid of our biggest use of Palossand in the back, and now we're left with this situation where Toxapex has to try to get this opponent's Toxapex low enough so that our Greninja can possibly take it out. But I don't see this happening because not only do they have 2 shields, but their Toxapex is still pretty healthy. In hindsight, we probably should have switched out once the Swallow threw a Sludge Bomb, and just to kind of test the waters to see what they had in the back, because the Palossand would have been much better used in the back, especially with the charge moves already banked. So a little bit of a misread right there, but also not really sure what would have been in the back. But I guess we live and learn. Next game. So we decided to switch into the Greninja. Previously we were using Azumarill because it was a little bit more bulky, but we were seeing a lot of Confusion users and just a lot of Steel types. So we're gonna see if this Greninja is gonna be able to help us win more games. We decided to go into our Greninja here because we didn't want this to be facing the front, even though this is gonna be a losing matchup. It is able to get a shield from our opponent, so that's job well done by the Greninja. Let's see if the read pays off. Looks like we're going to go back in with the Palossand here. This Palossand is going to shield the first one. Ends up being a Heavy Slam. Heavy Slam here would only be neutral. We're gonna build up to 2 Scorching Sands here. We're going to throw the first Scorching Sand. They decided to let it go, which is fine. Now they reveal that they have a Jellicent. So obviously Greninja would have been way better against this Jellicent, but we had some energy on this Palossand here. We tried to switch out, but unfortunately we were not able to switch out. So we're going to shield here just so we can build up to a Shadow Ball. We're going to switch out once we have the Shadow Ball ready. This Galvantula ends up having the Discharge. And one Discharge doesn't quite KO, but it looks like we are not able to get enough energy to throw at this Jellicent because I believe this Shadow Ball right here is just going to come a little bit short, and that is exactly the case. So GG's to our opponent right there. The Jellicent and Galvantula combo outpaces and outbolt us. So next game, we are going to face the Charge Bug. This is going to be a Spark version, by the way. So we are resisting these Sparks. Now the question is, what moveset does this Charge Bug have? Okay, we do get the debuff. They end up switching out and ends up being a Dragalge. So this Dragalge here, we're going to have to get some advantage. So we decided to throw a Scorching Sand just to get a shield or big damage. They decided to shield. So then we're going to switch into our Toxapex. We were going to shield the first one just in case it was the Outrage. And now we have a situation where we can just throw these Sludge Waves and possibly farm down. This Sludge Wave here will not KO, I don't believe. Yeah, doesn't KO, not even close. And okay, our opponent ends up switching back into the Charge Bug, throwing the Discharge here. So the fact that they're revealing Discharge probably means that they don't have Crunch. So we're going to throw this Brine here. Oh, we try to switch out. And now we're going to be able to farm this Charge Bug down, I believe. Yeah, X Scissor and Discharge makes sense. And now we're just going to... okay, well, we got a decision. We're going to shield it. We're going to let it go. We decide to shield and then farm this down. Ends up being the right decision because they have a Carbink in the back. So we're going to be able to get to 2 Scorching Sands here. The first Scorching Sand does not debuff, but it does a significant damage. We are able to get to another one, forcing them to shield. And now it's just a race to see who can get to their charge moves first. We're going to be able to get to this Hydro Cannon right here. This Hydro Cannon will be able to do big damage, and that is exactly what happens. So GG's to our opponent right there. Let us know if you enjoyed this video, and let us know if you're able to make this team.